What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk to you about SoundHound. I want to go over some of the current data points, break it down on what is really moving it, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So SoundHound is down 0.82%, so nothing really that crazy. 1180 the low, 1245 the high, and somewhat low volume today. So 34 million shares being traded, 42 is the average. There's quite a few things to talk on. So one of which was a Fireside chat from yesterday. So the market's kind of digesting that. That was supposed to be a pretty good catalyst for SoundHound, and I think in reality their Fireside chat did mimic a lot of their old news. So as you can kind of see right here, where they kind of put out just the healthcare data, same with the in-car data. So I think it was more like, hey, this is what SoundHound can do in the foreseeable future. This is what's going to be happening to businesses and kind of the transition, but it wasn't a short-term catalyst. So I think in reality, a lot of people didn't really like the Fireside chat. Current SoundHound investors, of course, probably would like it, but I think it didn't really incentivize any new investors to get in. And I think that's just unfortunate. But then again, SoundHound and just momentum stocks in general, you need short-term catalysts. You don't need to be like, hey, think about the future. Momentum investors don't do that. So I think this is why the market didn't really care about that. Aside from that, though, there's still a lot of things that caused up and down. So SoundHound actually did put out news early this morning. So SoundHound AI partners with AVANT Communications to accelerate the adoption of its AI agents across enterprise markets. So this is good. Very good, in fact. Too bad it kind of came out on a somewhat negative day, but nonetheless, I think they did also allude to this in the last earnings, because they did mention this quarter and as well second half of 2025, there's a lot of big type of partnerships coming. So I think this is good stuff and potentially could be a reason to really buy. I think they do need to really elaborate more on this, on how and what this means for SoundHound. So aside from that, though, we also did have data that came out this morning that's kind of spooking the market. So we had initial jobless claims coming in better than anticipated, so 217 versus 225. And then we also did have various kind of data points for July, but it's the manufacturing data. That's what really spooked the market, because we also did have manufacturing data, Richmond manufacturing data on Tuesday, and that was similarly negative. So this one came in at 49.5, previous was 52, forecast was 52.7. So anything below 50 shows more of a contraction occurring. Anything above 50 shows more of an expansion. So this was a very big surprise. Market didn't like this. And I think the thing about all this data for July, it does encumber tariffs. So people, of course, are taking this and jumping to conclusions on how potentially the tariffs might be damaging just the economy, and maybe the feds are right that it's going to be causing a slowdown, increase in inflation. So people are just jumping to conclusions. So that's one thing that is really weighing on the market today. But luckily enough, Trump caused a nice reversal. So SoundHound kind of bounced off of the lows because of this. So Trump signed an executive order on AI. So that executive order promotes export of American AI technology. Even though essentially it doesn't really, like, SoundHound doesn't benefit from this, whatever happens to AI or just tech in general, it kind of trickles down. So I think SoundHound's really benefiting and kind of moved higher because of that. And one of the biggest things for today for the volume is coming from algorithmic trading. So AI would be picking up on this and really kind of moving SoundHound higher because of that. Even looking at the secondary market, you're not really seeing that much. So you did see some recent buys, but somewhat evenly divided today based on buys and sells. So again, a lot of the volume today is coming from algorithmic trading. So yeah, that's pretty much encumbers everything that is moving it up, down, sideways, loop-de-loop. So a lot of big things. Aside from that, you are seeing shorts currently return 705,000 shares. 33.42% of the free flow is being shorted. Works out to be 120.7 million shares overall are being shorted. So this is kind of breaking the trend a little bit. So you can see from this bluish line, shorts have been just massively doubling down. So all-time high was at roughly over here, about 34.3% of the free float being shorted. That is absolutely insane. And that was on July the 1st. So yeah, shorts are especially yesterday, really doubling down. So we'll have to wait and see what does happen. Hopefully SoundHound has a very positive surprise for their upcoming earnings, just to say F you to the shorts and really deter them, get them back down to kind of at least at the bare minimum, the 20% range. But still, I think just shorts are getting very overextended and potentially could prompt a squeeze. And one thing on a side note, I know I haven't done that much in SoundHound videos recently, my apologies on that, but a lot of stocks have actually been really moving higher. There seems to be like a meme craze. So a lot of heavily shorted stocks are really moving higher. So SoundHound didn't really benefit from that, which is rather unfortunate, but nonetheless, moving over to the options, you're seeing 6.6 million in calls, 686,000 in puts. 49% of all the options being done are bullish in nature. Of the bulls, you see a consensus for it to be roughly around that $12.50 to $13 range, and then the bears are anticipating for it to be sub roughly $12 to $11.50. So definitely a lot more upside is anticipated. Right now with it at 12.12, it is trading between this pivot and this S1. Best case scenario, you will have SoundHound close above this pivot point of 12.18, insinuating some sort of recovery, but 12.18 is going to be a key pivot. So ideally just watch for it to close above that. If not, then it'll just be trading within this pivot in this S1. So 11.23 on the side note is going to be a strong support, and I don't really see that being touched at least for the foreseeable future. Aside from all that fun stuff, there hasn't been any new analyst ratings. Last one did come out 10 days ago. No real articles really talking about SoundHound, so I think just now people are waiting for the upcoming earnings, which is slated for August the 7th. So closer to that date, I'll go over some expectations and whatever else. But aside from all that fun stuff, even though SoundHound has been consolidating and somewhat lagging the last couple of trading days, still on a technical standpoint, things are looking pretty good. Still above the 50, 100, 200-day moving averages. So once the market kind of settles its kind of crap out in reality, then SoundHound will be able to move higher. And as I mentioned, on just generally, you don't need to draw any lines or do anything fancy. You can simply just look at a chart, and as long as you are seeing higher highs and higher lows, that's good. That shows a trend. And technically, because of this recent pullback, it did stay above the previous lows right here. So essentially, I know a lot of people are complaining about SoundHound, but on a technical standpoint, things are still looking pretty good. One thing to take note of though is because of the recent volatility, stochastic RSI is rather oversold. So again, good piece of news. You could see SoundHound really move higher, but I think at the end of the day, you need good news, not in a kind of a pullback type of scenario. So the news that came out this morning was largely just brushed under the rug. So let me know your thoughts on SoundHound. Have you been buying? Have you been selling? Where do you see things going in the short term? Do you think that there's going to be a secondary kind of consolidation stage, or do you think that we're ready for a breakout? What's your kind of general thoughts on that? Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. And then one final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, many of which have been absolutely on point. Definitely worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.